origin of shawls can be traced back more than 700 years. Who invented it is still unconfirmed. However, in the 15th century, it was the 8th Sultan, Zainul Abidin of Kashmir, a former region in India, who introduced the Kashmir shawl publicly by wearing it as a shoulder mantle. He was a lover of arts and supported local artisans and their handicrafts during his reign. Shawls were then introduced to Europe when the British Army and English soldiers brought home Indian shawls from serving the East India Company as souvenirs for their wives and daughters in the late 1750s. Afterward, this archetype was adopted by the British in the 1760s and later in France by becoming a highly sought-after fashion staple, which would be draped around the neck, shoulders, and body. Initially, shawls were only worn by women of the upper class because they were handmade and consist of expensive materials such as cashmere silk and very fine fleece, with intricate embroidery or pattern designs around flower motifs, which would take 2 to 4 years to complete. These designs would change a little every decade according to what was most desirable. At that time, one shawl would cost roughly £300, which equals to approximately £32,000 now. Later, however, in the 19th century, cheaper copies were made available through mass printing and thus became widely populated, with all social classes being able to afford one. Retailers also began to introduce a variety of designs coupled with cheaper materials and blends, such as wool, or silk, or cotton, because the genuine and natural shawl goat was difficult to source. This eventually decreased the respectability of what shawls originally indicated. All early shawls used to be hand-woven and limited to being rectangular or square, but nowadays you can find triangular-shaped shawls and knitted versions too. Sometimes it is crocheted, combined with different patterns and colors, adding decoration to the outfit and an extra layer of warmth. The fabric can be thick or thin, smooth or coarse, depending on the type of material and technique used to construct it. The style of a shawl can really change depending on where it is worn, how it's worn, and who wears it. In India, people would wear shawls to represent culture and artisanship, or for a formal attire. In the past, women in Europe would wear shawls for evening wear, day wear, for parties and balls. While in the 20th century, a younger person wearing a shawl would evoke a bohemian and hippie look if they are on the beach, while a grandmother would wear a shawl for casual loungewear. Nowadays, while this archetype is more women's wear, loungewear, vintage or evening wear, in the past, shawls were predominantly a menswear item in India. Presently, in the fashion wardrobe, the shawl is no longer a mainstream item for women and men as it once were, although there are some exceptions.